An Alaska Airlines plane crashes after being stolen from a US airport. A young Australian tourist hit and killed by a garbage truck in New York. An autistic teen reunited with his mother after being found wandering the streets of Sydney. And staying put, Ivan Cleary to honour his deal with the Tigers.
This is NBN News with Jane Goldsmith.
Good evening. There's been a frightening pursuit in the sky above the US city of Seattle after an American airport worker stole an empty passenger plane and went on a dangerous ride. The aircraft was seen swooping upside down with two fighter jets on its tail before crashing and bursting into flames.
It's the sort of aerial work you'd expect from a stunt jet, but this is a passenger plane flying upside down in the skies above Seattle, performing loop-de-loops and dipping dangerously close to the water.
What the hell is this guy doing?
He's a 29-year-old ground employee at Seattle's SeaTac Airport who's hijacked a Q400 from Alaska Airlines' sister carrier, Horizon Air. A commercial plane which normally seats 75 people, but today was empty when it was stolen and taken on a frightening 2-hour joy flight above suburban homes.
Oh my God, what is happening right now?
What's going on? We got an airplane circling our neighborhood with two jets.
Just did a loop-de-loop. Oh, and there's like a jet.
An F-15 fighter jet, two of them in fact, chasing the hijacked flight after scrambling from a nearby airbase. As they flew alongside the stolen plane, air traffic controllers engaged the rogue pilot.
Hey, you think if I make this successfully, Alaska will give me a job as a pilot?
What we want to see is you not get hurt or anybody else get hurt. So like I said, if you want to try to land, that's probably the best place to go.
As the ordeal unfolded, the airport was sent into lockdown. Passengers stranded on the tarmac as all other flights were grounded. Then this, among the last communication from the man behind the controls.
We're going to try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, I'll just go nose down and call it a night.
After 2 dramatic hours and horrific end.
Yo, I think a plane just crashed into this island right here.
Nosediving into Ketron Island, not far from Seattle and home to about 20 people, none of whom were impacted by the fiery aftermath which spread rapidly after the wreckage erupted into a fireball.
We'd never seen a plane that low over our deck before, and shortly thereafter we saw a giant plume of black smoke out in the distance.
I heard the fighter jets too, and so then when we were going through the ferry, we saw the police boats and all the planes flying all that direction.
As emergency services raced to the scene, police confirmed the frightening incident wasn't terror-related.
There's no indication that there was any attempt to attack anybody or anything other than taking an airplane without permission, stealing an airplane, and flying it around.
They claim the 29-year-old ground employee was suicidal, and while his death hasn't yet been confirmed, they say the crash would have been impossible to survive.
Police have released new details about 2 people wanted over a daylight murder on a quiet Sydney street. The man and woman remain on the run as stunned residents at Forest Lodge recall the horrific events they witnessed.
Lynn Charlesworth is still coming to terms with what she saw yesterday.
To see somebody one moment alive and then knowing that a few moments later they were deceased.
Lynn was inside her Forest Lodge home at lunchtime when she heard a woman scream out in the street.
I saw a man slumped in the street, covered in blood. I told him to stay still, stay still. I called out, help, help. He started to roll. He was moaning. He was alive. He started to roll. He sort of rolled across the street.
The 30-year-old man had just been struck in the head with a samurai sword and was trying desperately to escape his attacker.
He got to our car. He laid back on it. He then pulled himself up, and that's how the car got covered by blood. He was doing anything to get away, anything at all.
He kept going out of Lynn's view, but he died at the end of the street.
His head was covered in blood. I could not tell you what his features were like because there was so much blood.
The victim was heard arguing with a man and a woman at a property on Hereford Street just after midday. A short time later, he was seen staggering down the road, bleeding severely from a head wound before he collapsed on the intersection with Minogue Crescent. A replica gun was found near his body. Police raided the home looking for the couple who had been living there but failed to find them. And tonight, the two suspects are still on the run.
A young Australian woman has been killed in a road accident in New York, hit by a garbage truck near Central Park. The 23-year-old had been touring the city with a friend and was cycling in a bike lane.
Madison Jane Lydon was making the most of life, travelling the world with friends, but in the picturesque Upper West Side of New York yesterday, her life was cut short. The 23-year-old was riding a hire bike in a bicycle lane just before 5 p.m. when she was struck by a garbage truck.
A black Sienna was trying to get back into traffic, and then the biker, she went around the car trying to avoid it, and she made contact with the garbage truck.
Andrew Rivera witnessed the accident.
Someone was yelling to get CPR. Some people were diverting traffic. There was a female behind her who quickly got off her bike and went to help her, and she was screaming, and that's when she was calling people to call 911. People were rushing to her and they formed CPR, and I'm not sure if she was unconscious or not.
NYPD crash investigators have questioned the garbage truck driver, with reports 3 cans of beer were found in the cabin. The mayor of New York City himself visiting the scene.
This is another example, from my point of view, of the danger of reckless driving.
The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade has offered consular assistance to the family.
The message to all drivers is you got to be responsible, you got to be careful.
Gabrielle Boyle, NBN News.
Support for our farmers continues to come in droves, and there was certainly no shortage of generosity in the Hunter today. Hundreds of people flocked to Spears Point Park in a donation drive that filled 8 trucks to the brim.
A mountain of goods alongside an army of volunteers. When the going gets tough, there's no denying the Hunter gets going.
We've been here since 5:30 this morning. All these trucks, I think, it looks like they're all going to get filled. We've got about 8 now, so start off as 1, now we've got 8.
Like so many others, Shane Worrell saw the plight of our farmers and had to act, putting work to one side to run the filler truck for a farmer donation drive. He's been blown away by the community support.
We've literally had people dropping off full pallets of stuff, people are rocking up crying, they've got tears in their eyes, just they can't believe, what's actually happening here. So the fact that every single thing here and every cent goes straight to the farmers.
From non-perishables to drinks, even food for our 4-legged friends. An entire truck of water, another welcome sight for the bush. Last-minute volunteers and boxes were needed just to meet demand.
It's a drop in the ocean, really, what we're going to help, but hopefully we can help a few people out.
The goods will be taken to Coonabarabran next week before heading further west. And with 100% of the state now officially in drought, the donation drives will no doubt continue. Samantha Long, NBN News.
A female police officer has been treated in hospital after allegedly being assaulted at Mayfield yesterday. Shortly before 1 p.m, a man was making a grocery delivery on Mounter Street when a male armed with a golf club began damaging the parked truck. When officers arrived and arrested a 33-year-old man, it's alleged he kicked the senior constable in the mouth. He's been granted conditional bail. A party in Adamstown turned ugly last night when 300 Great Gate crashers turned up. Police attended the Lockyer Street property at around 8 p.m. and shut down the celebration. But from there, brawls reportedly broke out in the street, with revellers smashing bottles and windows. Council workers were quick to clean up the mess today.
Get the shots.
Dozens more Newcastle business owners today signed up for a class action over the light rail construction. The motion is expected to be filed in the next month, with traders saying they have nothing to lose.
It was standing room only as inner-city traders discussed a project which they say has backed them into a corner.
The time delays, the noise, the dust, the mitigation, the fact that they were going to go down one way, then they changed their mind and they're going down another way.
According to business owners, their livelihoods are in tatters, and this class action is now their only hope of getting something back.
The foot traffic that we saw 2 or 3 years ago, we haven't seen them for 3 years.
We were trading extremely well. Had a good bank balance. The bank balance is gone.
Just shy of 40 businesses signed on the dotted line today, and Victory Lawyers expects that number to grow. It argues the state government hasn't met a duty of care to support small business, and that the project has been mismanaged.
What will be alleged here is that they didn't do so in breach of that duty, and ultimately these businesses have suffered.
We've got the physical evidence, we've got the document evidence, we know the losses and we know the pain.
The Sydney-based team is also working on a similar class action over the George Street light rail construction. Lawyers are analysing the Newcastle project's scope, road closures and related loss of income. The government argues that confidence in Newcastle has never been stronger, with businesses set to benefit soon after services start.
This uplift is never going to make up for the losses that we've already experienced. There's no time machine to go back here, and if there is any uplift, it will be years before any of that is experienced.
Samantha Long, NBN News.
Former NRMA Chairman Carl Loades was honoured for his tireless community work at last night's Hunter Business Awards. The self-made entrepreneur was named Business Leader of the Year.
And emergency services.
It's really having the knowledge to get on and take on something and succeed. Many of the people here in this room have contributed to whatever I happen to have done along the journey.
Carrington sign manufacturer High-Vis Group won the President's Award, while Prue McPherson was named the Kristen Keegan Young Business Executive. He's a big man with a big heart, and his dream of helping disadvantaged children in Tonga is getting even bigger. Former professional rugby league player Sione Finifuaki has spent the last year gathering support for his second mission to his homeland.
From building supplies and sports equipment to hospital beds, all going to children who need it most. 3 shipping containers worth of goods are bound for Tonga. The man behind it, Sione Finifuaki, wants to make a difference for those in his homeland.
Went there last year, my first time. I always want to go back and see what they're up to and see what they need for help. And I think that's what really touched my heart, just seeing those kids there. That's me on that age without even